Hi, my name is Coach Taylor. So you may be wondering what PowerUp meetings are. Well, they're a wonderful way for you to empower yourself, your community, your family, your friends, just about anybody to make positive decisions utilizing the GOGI life tools. So you may end up with a workbook that looks like this, or your workbook could look like this. And actually, your workbook could actually be just a PDF that you print off on a printer. And it can even be a PDF that shows up on your phone. However you get this manual, whether it's in physical form or PDF form, this is what we're going to be using to kind of lead you through what a PowerUp meeting is. This manual has instructions for you. They're so easy to follow. In fact, hundreds of people have looked over this manual to make sure that you have everything that you need to make sure that you're going to do your PowerUp meetings with confidence. There's a table of contents. Now in this table of contents, you're going to have lots of pages, but notice, sometimes it's only 1 or 2 pages you're going to be looking at, making it really easy for you to access exactly what you're going to need at exactly the right time. On this page here, the basics of PowerUp. Now this is really cool because it tells you everything you're going to need, just about the basics. Why do we have a calendar? What are the tools? How long is a meeting? What are peer mentor circles? Who is authorized to facilitate PowerUp? Why is GOGI material needed? And your rights to use the material. And we invite you to stay connected. So make sure you read the PowerUp materials, the basics here, because that's going to lay the foundation for you to feel very, very comfortable and confident when you end up putting your own PowerUp meetings to work. Now on this page, this is the introduction to PowerUp. I wrote this. That's my name right there. I'm GOGI's longest running volunteer, and I help design the PowerUp meetings. And this is my invitation to you. It kind of really just says you're part of the solution, and we're happy that you're here. And the GOGI PowerUp meetings is just one way that you can help your communities. So part of that section of my introduction goes through some very, very important details. They're only important because if you know them, you're going to have additional confidence. If you don't know them, you're going to be kind of making things up on the fly, and that never comes back to be a good thing. So things like the meeting length, the frequency, and the leadership of the meetings. There's an invitation for you to stay on calendar. What is a PowerUp round? What is a PowerUp cycle? What are the team building meetings, which is the very first meeting we have? Every 15 weeks we have a team building meeting. What are the tool meetings? In fact, what are the GOGI life tools? You're going to find that in your manual. Now all that may seem a little bit confusing, but I promise you, it is laid out so clean and so clear, you're going to have great confidence when you start diving into the PDF or the softbound book. So after my introduction, you're going to get things like the pledge. Why do we have a GOGI pledge? It's a pledge of service, which just reminds us that we're going to be happier humans if we do things for other people. There's a list of the GOGI life tools. That's going to be a nice place for you to reflect back on as you move through different meetings. And then you're going to have your GOGI calendar of study. Now the really cool thing about the PowerUp meetings is they're all coordinated with this calendar. So every time you have a meeting, you're going to refer to the calendar, and then you will know you are never going to be alone in your GOGI tool studies. In fact, all PowerUp meetings are held on calendar. So there's groups all over the place studying the same tools at the same time as you and your group. There are 4 sets of tools that you are going to study. You're going to rotate those. Every week you're going to study a new tool according to the calendar. Those 4 sets of tools are important for you to understand. And as you go through the process of reading the material and exploring them, it'll all be pretty simple and pretty clear. The next section of the manual is going to be the actual meeting format. Why is it important to have a meeting format? Well, it takes the burden off of you. You can relax, you can rest, and your participants are really going to feel engaged because they have a format that they can count on. So having a format is to your benefit because it allows you to kind of back off, kind of gauge what's going on and empower your participants to actually feel like they too might be a part of the solution. In your manual, you're going to have your Peer Mentor Circle checklist. If you're holding these meetings in person, a peer circle is just up to 12 people sitting around in a circle. If you're doing this on like a video conferencing format, same thing applies, no more than 12 people. Why do we limit it? We want everyone to be engaged. We want everyone to contribute. So we limit it to groups of 12. So if you get 13 participants, let's say, go ahead and break off into 2 groups. It's going to help everybody be better leaders. So in here, you're going to have your Peer Mentor Circle checklist. Just run by this. Is your group or the group you're participating in adhering to these? These checklists were created by people who've done these groups for a very, very long time. And they allow you to benefit from nearly 20 years of practice. That's right. We've been doing these groups for nearly 20 years. We kind of know what we're talking about. And we want to allow you to have as much freedom to explore within those parameters, thereby making you an almost instant expert. Another really, really cool resource for you, if you're deciding to facilitate or even if you're participating, is going to be this page, which is the PowerUp Support Meeting discussion prompts. Sometimes, especially if it's a new meeting, everybody will be like dead silence. They're waiting to be told what to do, just like when they entered 6th grade and they had to sit quiet in their classroom. So people aren't yet comfortable with thinking that they are the solution. But at Gogi, we know that the individual is the solution. So there might be moments, especially with a new group, when people are just the obedient student waiting to be taught. Well, your responsibility as a facilitator is to engage them as part of the solution. And these prompts do just that. These prompts will allow you to engage them in a way that's meaningful. Ask questions like, in your opinion, why do our PowerUp meetings rely on the Gogi calendar? That's kind of an interesting question to ask, and you're going to get a lot of feedback from a lot of people as to why. Or, what do you think about using the Gogi calendar as a simple way to unite all PowerUp meetings and all Gogi students? That's kind of an interesting concept that most of your students or most of your participants won't have even asked themselves. What's the benefit of studying something that's going to be studied in, say, Northern Ireland or Africa or New York or California or in small towns across America? Is there a benefit? And if so, what might that benefit be? These are going to come in very, very handy. In fact, as a facilitator, you can actually assign these topics to people and have them begin to open the discussion with having them lead that discussion. Now, we talked about the sequence of the PowerUp meetings. The very first meeting you're going to have with your group is called the team building meeting. The team building meeting is kind of where we set the history of the Gogi tools, we set the history of the PowerUp meetings, we declare who we are within this group, and we just set the template to get everybody to feel more comfortable. The team building meeting is often the most fun meeting. We have all sorts of groups with all sorts of names, and you can be creative. So the team building meeting, the format is laid out here in your manual. Follow it, and everybody will warm up to the idea that they are the solution pretty quickly. There are a couple different formats that you can use for your meetings, and you can change them up if you need to. There are open meetings, which means, hey, I'm running a dads and daughters meeting every Sunday at 11 o'clock. Hope you can connect. Invite any dad and any daughter. That's called an open meeting, where people can just come in and they can leave anytime they want. There's also a closed meeting. And that means you have a circle that you close after the meetings begin. So you do your team building meeting, maybe one meeting, and then nobody else new can come into that cycle. And that round, those 15 meetings, you really want to keep it in a closed group. So you have an open meeting, advertise it for everybody, and a closed meeting for a specific purpose. Sometimes those issues that are trauma related or things that have hurt us really badly, sometimes those are best in those closed meetings, but not necessarily. Sometimes an open meeting will get new people into the meeting to actually contribute in new and powerful ways. Whatever way you decide to run your meetings, it's entirely up to you. And I know when you're sincere and when you really want to be of service, whatever you decide is going to be the perfect solution. So the coolest thing about the PowerUp meetings is that we don't want you to be an expert. Please, don't be an expert. In fact, the last thing that we want you to do is be an expert at anything. We want you to engage the participants so that everybody begins to be the solution. Well, they can't be the solution if you have all the solutions. What we want you to do is ask questions. It's okay, in fact, I do it all the time, to get in a PowerUp meeting and say, what week are we on? What tool are we studying? Does somebody have the manual? Sometimes if I'm driving and I'm called into a meeting, it's, okay, I'm driving, put the phone up on the dashboard and I'm driving. Well, what's next? We don't want you to be an expert. So please, you're never going to be an expert anyway. You're never going to be perfect. You're just human. So please, let's just kind of engage in some wonderful PowerUp. By doing that, you're going to empower your participants to feel wanted, feel needed, feel important, and you're going to build a much more cohesive group. Much of what you're going to be doing as a facilitator is delegating, asking people, can you read this? Can you read that? Hey, would you mind reading a little bit about this and presenting it? Now, what is invariably going to happen is people are going to let you down. They get busy, they forget, their phone doesn't have battery, they can't log on. So you're always going to have your B plan. If someone doesn't show up to read something, you're going to have a B plan. So always, when you're assigning, assign somebody else's just in case somebody doesn't show up. That is going to give you a lot of comfort and a lot of confidence that the meeting is going to go very, very smooth. I hope you can see how honest and real and vulnerable and just human our PowerUp participants are. That is a good portion reliant upon you as a facilitator or you as a participant. The more open and honest with your communication you are, the better off you're going to be with your meeting. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of the GOGI calendar. So the GOGI calendar was founded by a group of individuals who were studying the GOGI tools. Specifically, one gentleman was all alone. He had nobody to study his GOGI tools with. And when I talked with him, he asked, well, what is everybody else studying? And I said, well, the GOGI life tools. He said, but which life tool? I thought about that. Wow, if there's a student who has no access to a group, or they're alone in some way, or feeling alone, or just kind of sitting at their desk feeling depressed, wouldn't there be an advantage to uniting everybody so that everybody could be studying the GOGI life tools at the same time? I took that concept back to a group of students who had the privilege of studying with hundreds of GOGI students. And I said, what do we do about this one guy who's all alone? And they said, well, you know what? We need a calendar. And that's how they sat down and created the calendar that is now the GOGI Life Skills Calendar. Now, if you notice the calendar, it's broken up very, very easy to understand. We're going to repeat the tools one after another, after another, after another, and then we're going to repeat it again. And we repeat the tools a total of 4 times every year. Each tool is studied 4 times a year. If you look at the calendar with a little bit of a math head on, you're going to see how easy it breaks down into easy to understand concepts about when you're studying what. You want individuals to explore. So when you pull up the calendar and say, hey, tell me what tool it is, there is some confusion because sometimes there's 5 weeks to a month. So you need to make sure that they can explore, what does it mean if it's on the 5th week? What tool do we study? How do I know when the week starts? If we're having a meeting on Sunday, what week do we fall in? All of these questions are important. They are critical, and they are not to be answered by you. Please, don't be an expert. Invite them to be the solution. But beyond that, you'll also notice that the tools are laid out according to the 4 sections of tools. Tools of the body, tools of choice, tools of moving forward, and tools of creation. This makes it even easier for you to study the areas that these tools represent. These life tools are going to be life-changing for you if you want them to be. And when you coordinate your meetings, if you coordinate it to the calendar, I promise your participants are going to have a lot more fun if they know the rest of the GOGI Nation is studying the same tool at the same time. So just to review a little bit, every 15th meeting is going to be your team building meeting. No matter what tool it is, You're going to revisit the rules, the history, the format, decide if you want to keep the same name. Every 15 meetings, you're going to build your team up again. Don't worry about the tool. You're going to continue to grab that tool a total of 4 times every year. So team building meeting, stay on calendar, and empower your individuals to find the solutions. These tools are going to be yours to learn, and the meetings are the place in which you can study them. Sometimes when I'm driving down the freeway, I need to pull out a tool. Sometimes if I have something happen that I'm not real happy about, I got to pull out a tool. So you have a toolbox of life tools at your disposal. How you explore them, how you read about them, and how you utilize them is going to be up to you. Now, the PowerUp meetings make it very simple. It's just the tip of the surface, but there's lots more information about the Gogi Life tools that are available. You can always refer your individuals to the Gogi website, to the YouTube channel, where lots of the PowerUp meetings are being held, where tool descriptions are. Ask your participants to explore. The more active and engaged your participants are, the more familiar they will be with your Gogi Life tools, and the happier you will be as a facilitator. Every individual is different. There are some individuals that won't step one step into PowerUp until they know all the tools, they know the format. There are others that honestly, all they need is one simple tool, they're good to go. They might learn, I don't know, Boss of My Brain. That's their go-to tool. They're cool with that. It doesn't really matter. Every individual is different. Remember, there's no right and there's no wrong. It's, does this tool allow that person's life to be better? In fact, some of the tools, like 5-second light switch, for some it's just, ooh, I flip my switch. And before I move into a bad action, I get to my other action. There are others that just name 5 important things on their finger and they hold on to that, and that's their 5-second light switch. There are many, many ways to interpret these tools. Whatever works for the individual is going to be absolutely perfect. One tool can fix everything. Having all the tools, you really have a broad perspective on how you can help others as well. Now, some options that you have is to actually plan out your meeting according to our format, but maybe a little bit more intimately to the needs of your group. If it's a group that's suffering from, say, an addiction, you may use other words that aren't printed in the manual. Or if it's maybe reentry or alternatives to incarceration, or even people who are kind of tired of being locked up during a pandemic, you can tailor your meetings to address the needs of the individuals who come for that level of support. You can be creative, offer a meeting, and invite your friends to participate with the subject matter clearly defined by you and allow them to explore what that means. Each of the Gogi Life tools were created by the people that needed them the most. That's why they work so well. And all of them have a solid foundation, scientifically proven methodologies for change. What's different about the Gogi Life tools is their simplicity, how easy they are to apply in your life. So you have 4 sets of tools. Tools of the body, tools of choice, tools of moving forward, and tools of creation. Inside those sets of tools, each of them have 3 tools. We're listing them here for you. You can use one tool, you can use a couple tools, or you can use all the tools. The tools are here for you. When your car breaks down, there are specific tools that you need. You might need a wrench or pliers or a jack or whatever it is. You can think of your Gogi Life tools in that way. When your life kind of breaks down, you've got a whole entire toolbox to use to make sure you get back on the road again. So one important factor about our PowerUp meetings is our pledge of service. And a pledge of service is actually what we offer at the end of the meeting that unites us and kind of propels us forward into the next week being of service. Because what we've learned at Gogi is when you wake up every morning knowing that the world is going to be a better place because you're on it, kind of makes you happy. So at the end of every PowerUp meeting, every one, we say our pledge of service. I'm going to say it for you, and I want you to really listen to the words. The pledge of service was created by students that needed the Gogi Life tools the most. They created this pledge of service because the Gogi Life tools worked for them and they wanted to share it. And the pledge goes like this. You can read along as you see it on the screen. May our commitment to the study of GOGI grant us the joy of giving and receiving so that our inner freedom can be of maximum service to those we love and infinite others. The biggest way for you to guarantee your successes is for you to be sincere, for you to listen, and you to ask questions. Engage your participants in the discussion. Let them find their own solutions. I think you're going to be just absolutely fine. It may be rough the first meeting or two, but then you'll get the swing of it, then you're going to get the hang of it. Your participants will be really engaged, and I promise you, they're going to start looking forward to their meeting times. I want you to just relax into the intention that you have for actually even offering this service. Your intention is sincere. Your intention is to help. Your intention is to unite individuals. That's all you need to remember. You're going to stumble. We all do. I stumble all the time. Doesn't really matter. I've done this 20 years and I still make all sorts of mistakes. It's okay. I'm human. When you're nervous, do a little belly breathing. Know that you are boss of your brain. Flip your 5-second light switch and make sure you know that you are providing a valuable solution and that nervousness has no place. Use your tools, get back on track. You are part of the solution. Nervous or not, you're going to get over it. One resource you have is to ask for support. There's an increasing number of people who are actually certified as GOGI community coaches. These community coaches are available to you. Maybe not all the time, but it's worth asking. So ask a GOGI community coach, hey, can you come into my meeting either as a speaker, somebody to help facilitate, or somebody to help with that team building meeting so that you get off to a good start. How cool is it that you now are part of a culture, part of a movement, part of a community that really wants to be of service? How cool is it that you're now part of a calendar? You're never alone when you study the GOGI life tools. And how cool is it that you are probably more prepared than you think to start your PowerUp meetings? Check in with us. Let us know how you're doing. We want to hear, and we're here to support you.